My name is Jim McCarthy, and Abby and I've been teaching together for about 7 years and independently for over 20. And my background's in like studying mysticism and um, really helping people clear energy and clear the mental patterns that create negative energy. But anyway, the last three classes we've done kind of connect to one another. Two classes ago was about the source of all abundance. Last class was about having good spiritual guidance. And the reason why this class came up was because this is the class that removes the obstacles that are blocking both the last things, okay? So having having good, having abundance comes from having a clear connection to the divine light within you. And when that connection's active, we automatically have the right wisdom, the right guidance, the right inspirations, and we're kind of led every step of the way to get what we truly want or truly need. Okay. So that connection brings with it spiritual guidance, spiritual wisdom, and it's infinite. It knows everything. It knows the truth about everything. It knows what your soul's path is, what you were created for, what your lessons in life are. It knows everything. Okay. Um, so the connection to the light is the first thing, and that brings abundance because our natural state is to live in abundance, abundance of everything we need for our own demonstration. Okay. The next step is having spiritual guidance. With the connection comes spiritual guidance naturally. So resistance and learning to dissolve resistance is really removing the blocks and obstacles that are blocking you from living in harmony with the light within yourself. Okay. And so, one of the things that I have is a lot of experience with resistance. Okay. So I've learned a lot of life's lessons. Some of them were very hard. And those very hard lessons usually came from me resisting my guidance or resisting the lessons was bringing me. Okay. And I remember one time I was studying oneness with Amma and Bhagwan, and these people in India. And Bhagwan said, resistance is the essence of all suffering. And I realized that that was true. Like when we resist things, we with resistance comes this natural contracting in our energy field, right? It's like when you teach people how to get yeses and how to get nos spiritually, one of the telltale signs is, are you contracted or expanded? Okay. Resistance comes from contraction. Okay. And then when we're expanded, we're open. Okay. So when we're in resistance, what we're really saying is, no, I'm not open. Okay. And, when I was making notes for the class, the first question the guides asked me was, what is spiritual resistance? And then the answer came, it's a core defense of the ego. Okay. It's when we need to be in control from a place of our ego versus letting the light of the divine within us take charge. Okay. Whenever we think we know what's right or how things should be and everything else, and we get kind of narrowly focused on that, we block the infinite possibilities and we're in resistance. Okay. So, really resistance is an egoic, unconscious um, opposition to living in the what is, right? It's like reality doesn't know what needs to happen, but I do. That's resistance. Okay? Because the I that we're talking about is the ego. Okay? So whenever we kind of like outline something and we're like, okay, this should be this way, or he or she should be that way, if they're not exactly what we think, we're going to feel contraction because it doesn't match what our expectations are. And that again is resistance. Okay. When life gives you lessons and opportunities that you don't like, that you don't think you should be getting, right? And you say no to them, you're in resistance. Okay. When somebody triggers you emotionally and you don't want to feel it, you're in resistance. And a lot of times, the first step in healing, spiritual healing, is to start connecting with this light within yourself. And as you do that, it starts to push out of you the stuff that isn't light, like old memories and old perceptions and the emotional stuff associated with it. And when that comes up, and if we don't want to feel it, we resuppress it. And again, that's a form of resistance. Okay. Bruno Grunens was a very, very high soul in Germany. And one of the things he taught was that because he would like in his time, he would like stand out on his balcony and just send light to like 1,000 people in his yard. And some of them would be instantaneously healed. And sometimes it was a process for people. But he says, when I send you this light, sometimes it has to push out of you all of this yucky stuff, you know, and there's no really way around that, right? It has to clear from you what you're not. It has to bring it up. And if and I've worked with people to where, as you're doing this light work, I was working with this one lady one time, and she was super sensitive to how her body felt. And if anything felt negative or uncomfortable, immediately she thought she was sick and she was going to die. Okay. Because she was super tuned in to how she felt. And I was like, well, what if you're feeling it so you could release it? And what if by resisting feeling it, you resuppress it? And she's like, oh, right. But what was happening with her was when something uncomfortable came up, she would get afraid and then the ego would take over and suppress it. Okay. Because she thought it was something really bad. But in reality, it was just energy coming up to be released. Okay. So when we resist that from occurring, we resuppress the negative energy in us. And by resuppressing the energy, we live in a state of suffering because now we feel like, let's say it's hate you suppress. Well, now it's suppressed in you and you have to feel it continuously. Okay, that's not fun. So, that's one method of resistance where it causes suffering. Okay, another method of resistance where it causes suffering is when life keeps bringing you lessons to help you heal and you're afraid of the lessons. Okay. And so you keep rejecting the lessons. Life keeps bringing you people that trigger something in you that needs to be healed. And you keep rejecting them because you don't want to feel what they trigger in you. Okay. Instead of getting curious and really sitting in it and saying, okay, what is this person bringing up in me? And is it true? Is it true about me? Right. It goes back to, you know, that resistance is a core mechanism of the ego. Okay. Whose ego are we talking about? Right. Whenever you put someone else's ego as your authority, guess what? That's a form of resistance. Okay. Because now they're your authority and they're going to tell you if you're good or you're bad or you're right or you're wrong or you're lovable or you're not lovable. Okay. And that's extremely limiting. So when it comes to resistance and dissolving it, the first thing you want to start to recognize is when resistance is coming up in you. If there's a feeling coming up in you that you don't want to feel, that's resistance. Okay. And as long as you resist the feeling coming up, it's going to want to keep coming up because it needs to come up to come out. Okay. And so, what you want to learn how to do is allow it to come up and learn how to let it go without hurting yourself or hurting anyone else. Abby and I are taking another group to Sedona in April, and we go to these energy vortexes. And I'm extremely sensitive with energy. And back in the past, and like the Mayan days and the shaman days and things like that, nobody lived in Sedona. It was too sacred. They would go into Sedona and do their spiritual ceremony and then leave. Okay. And what that means is they'd go into Sedona, they'd release all of this stuff that they've been holding on to at a lower vibration, and they would let the energy of the vortexes transmute it. And then they would, whenever you do that, you always receive light. You always receive divine light and divine guidance. And it's not something you have to think about. And then when you come back to wherever you live, you take that new vibration with you. Okay. Same thing with the kahunas in Hawaii. Like, one day I went to Hawaii and I was shown exactly where they would have their spiritual ceremonies. So I started taking people there, and Abby and I have taken people there to do spiritual ceremonies. Same thing with Ireland. Okay. When you look at the stone circles in Ireland, those stones are brought from sometimes 1,000 miles away, sometimes hundreds of miles away to a certain vortex. And those stones have certain qualities in them that magnetize the vortex to make it even stronger. And ceremonies were done there. Why? Because people needed a place where they could let go of stuff. Okay. Instead of a place where they were safe letting go of stuff. So back to Sedona, when we like, I remember one time I was hiking up to Kachina Woman, and it's about a 10-15 minute walk. And I could feel whatever emotion it was that was coming up in me. I could just feel this emotion rise, and I wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't engaging with anyone. But instead of resisting the feeling, I got interested, and I said, what's this coming up for? And immediately I heard, this is what you're going to let go of at the top. And I was like, cool, right? It was no longer a punishment. It was a healing. And that's what you want to start to recognize when things come up in you. They're not coming up in you to hurt you. They're coming up in you so you can let them go. Okay. And by letting go, you make room for more light to come in. Okay. And when you go to high spiritual vortexes, or if you're in the presence of a very high soul, you'll feel stuff come up in you, right? Sometimes feelings of not being worthy of a healing, not being good enough. Let that go. That's not your essence. And that is a form of resistance. When you believe something about yourself that's not true, like I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough for a healing, that's a form of resistance, and it actually blocks your healing. Okay? So start to become aware of where you're creating resistance and start to let it go. Okay? So in my own life, a lot of times where I've gotten stuck is thinking, like I used to run a fairly large company. And I thought it was my job to help the employees, to evolve the employees, to, you know, protect them from this or protect them from that, and to heal them, even if they didn't want to be healed. Because I could see and feel what was going on in them. And so I thought, well, I need to do something about this. What I didn't realize is that I have to respect their free will. And if they don't want to do something about it, I need to respect that and leave them alone. Okay. And if you don't do that, you get attacked. right? You have to learn discernment on where you get involved and where you don't. Um, Other lessons that I learned in terms of resistance is life would bring me lessons. Sometimes it'd bring me bullies, and they'd be attacking me, and they'd be doing whatever they could to try to force me to compromise my will or my integrity or to give them what they wanted, but they would try to do it by force. And it was real scary for me. So I recognized the fear. And for a while, I would just compromise and do what they wanted. So it would go away. Okay. And, that to me was like, it got rid of my pain. So fine. But I realized it kept reoccurring over and over and over again. So finally, I thought, okay, this isn't by accident. You know, um, what's the lesson here? And I just asked the guides, I said, I asked the light within me, I said, what are you trying to teach me? And immediately I heard to stand up for yourself. And I was like, I get it. And they said, if you want to be a leader, you got to be able to stand up for yourself. And I was like, hmm. Then all of a sudden I realized that that's something I wanted. So there was no more pain because I realized that this is good for me to stand up for myself. So then I learned how to clear the fear of being bullied to where I could be at peace with it, right? To where I could start to recognize it. And what you want to learn with resistance is when you have a lot of emotion triggered, okay, if you resist letting that emotion come up and being afraid of the emotion, that's a form of resistance. What you want to do is make friends with the feeling and the emotion and learn how to sit with it and recognize it's not you. It's not yours. It's just a feeling. And like in Abby's meditation, she was healing the inner child. A lot of these feelings are coming up from our inner child when we were scared as a child and we never cleared it. We never got to process it. Okay. And so part of being non-resistant is to allow things to come up and then just gently offer them to the divine light, offer them to the divine within you, because it is all knowing and it is all powerful and it knows how to transmute something that's uncomfortable into light and peace. Okay. So, one of my teachers was really a profound lady. And I said, she, she could like see all of the future and the past and everything. And at the end of her life, I said, Jane, what's your favorite prayer? And she said, let go and let God, or let go and trust God. Okay. And really, what are we letting go of? We're letting go of our feelings, our thoughts, our perceptions. And we're trusting that there's a light within us that knows how to heal them. And we should trust it because it's all loving. It's never going to hurt you. Okay. It's never going to hurt you. It's always going to heal you, but you've got to be open to receive and you got to be open to let go. Those are the two things. That's your role. Okay. Let go and trust. Okay. And also recognize that that light is always with you. It never leaves. So when you have a thought, when you want to turn to it, just do it. If you feel alone, if you feel scared, turn to it. It knows how to heal you. Okay. One of the things I do before I go to sleep is I ask the divine light to remove any defects or obstacles in me that are causing me pain or suffering, meaning anything where I'm misperceiving something. And I have all of these strange dreams that teach me amazing things. And by having that dream and that experience, it heals me. It's like whatever used to bother me doesn't bother me. Okay. So start to become like in the last class with guidance, we talked about becoming aware. Okay. Start becoming aware of how you feel. Start becoming aware of things that repeat in your life. Are they lessons? And there, if it's a lesson, it's always for you to heal. It's always for you to become stronger. Okay. And when you take that lesson and you bring it to the light within you, it will start to dissolve anything that would cause you harm. Okay. So back to being bullied and stuff, when I would get triggered with that, I would immediately bring it to the light. I would offer my fear of it to the light. I was honest. I wasn't denying it. I'd offer my fear of it to the light. I'd offer the thoughts associated with that fear and the memories and the expectations to the light sincerely. And then I would ask the light to heal and transform it and fill me with light and truth. And then I would get out of the way because we can't heal the inner self with our minds. You know, in the outer world, we can make changes. In the inner world, we're helpless. The only thing that can heal us is the light within us. We can't fix our mind with our mind. We have to let go and let something new come in. Okay. And if you've ever been stuck in something, I mean, like, let's talk about different forms of resistance. One is procrastination. Okay. You have something on your to-do list that you're afraid to do. So you just leave it on your to-do list. And every day when you look at it, you feel fear. Right? That's a form of resistance. Okay. But if you start paying attention to where this scares me and you start just saying, okay, I'm afraid of this and be honest, and then you offer that fear to the divine or to the light within you on it and just say, please help me to heal and transform this. That's what it's there for. That's what it's there for. And with the connection brings right thought, right inspiration, and all the help you're going to need. You know, I've asked for help a lot of times, and like instantly, you know, it comes, and it's like, whoa, how'd that happen? I could have never invented that with my mind. Okay. So when you're in resistance, start to become aware of it because by bringing that resistance to the light, it's going to heal and resolve itself. Okay. Like, you know, um, I was working with someone with fear of lack, and they were always afraid of lack. It's like you can't have enough money in your account. And so I created a prayer for it. And then I contemplated because I wanted to be able to teach it. Like, what creates this fear of lack and how do we overcome it? And how do we realign ourselves with living in abundance by grace? Because that's what we're meant to live, right? So I went into it. I just started really like being with it, right? And I called in, Abby and I shared these guides, and I called in these guides and I said, teach me about abundance. And they said, or teach me how to live in abundance. And they said, abundance is everywhere. You just have to align yourself with it. If you are out of abundance, you're out of the universal laws. You're not in alignment with nature. And I was like, huh? And they said, abundance is your natural state of being. And I was like, hmm. So then I started thinking, what blocks it? Right? What blocks us from living in abundance? And I started sitting with it. I started working with people with it. And what I realized was that what blocks us with it is resistance, meaning that a part of us doesn't feel we deserve it, or we're not worthy, or we feel guilty, right? Or we've done bad things and we think we deserve to be punished, right? All of that stuff needs to be healed. It's resistance to abundance. How do we heal it? We offer it to the light and we say, please take it out and align me with the truth. Let me see abundance in the light of truth. Let me live in abundance by grace. And then you watch things unfold and miracles happen, and you're like, whoa, again, I thought I had to do, like, we're taught from the ego, right? We're taught that you have to do X, Y, and Z and go to school for 1,000 years and, work really, really hard and do all the things you don't want to do and stress out, and then you might have enough money. Okay. Is that God or is that the ego? Is that light or is that the ego? Okay. And is that ego trying to control you so that it can use you as a tool? Okay. The essence within you really knows the laws of abundance and it knows how to align you with abundance and it wants to. But if we don't like start to recognize when we feel contracted or resistant, we can't ask for help, right? And if something feels bad, if all of a sudden it's like, oh, don't want to feel that, I'm going to shut that down, okay? We don't get the healing. Make friends with what you feel, but bring light to it, okay? So I did some notes, and of course I haven't really looked at them, but um, really resistance is when we block our connection with the light within us, meaning that we think we need to be in charge. Why? Because we don't trust that God can do it, right? Or we think we're bad and that God won't help us, right? All of these things have been taught to us by what? The light or the ego? The ego, right? So don't put the ego as your authority, not your ego or anybody else's ego, right? One time, Abby and I, we went to Sedona on one of these retreats, and I was meditating at one of these vortexes, and Abby was telling me about this vortex, and she goes, "Not many people go to this one. It's not really well known, but I want you to go experience it." And I think we were like just by ourselves, going to these vortexes to see if we liked them. And so we went to this vortex, and I sat there and I closed my eyes, and this male voice said, "Give up the need to please the ego." And I was like, huh? And it said, "You don't understand what the ego is." And again, I was like, okay. And they said, the nature of the ego is to be separate than and better than. So don't make it your authority. You work for the light. And I was like, whoa, that was profound. Well, I couldn't have thought of that on my own. It just happened. But it came in and I recognized it as truth. And then later on, another lesson came, and another lesson came, and another lesson came, and it unfolded, right? But it goes back to resistance causes suffering. So if you're suffering, you're in resistance. And if you're suffering, you need to bring light in and ask for help. That's the only thing that heals it. Okay. If you're in a relationship and you're wanting their love and their approval and their acceptance, whose love and approval and acceptance do you want? The light or the ego? Okay. And even like the avatars, they say, don't worry too much about me. Think about the light that I bring, right? If you judge me, you'll be disappointed because I have an ego, right? But the light within me that I bring to the world is profound. Okay. And so you want to put that first. And by putting that first, all the wisdom you need will be added onto you. All of the healing you need will be given to you. You just got to be open, meaning non resistant. Okay. So resistance in itself is a call to connect with the divine light. And if you keep having the same experience in life over and over again, and you keep saying no to it, please ask the divine what it's trying to teach you. And when you get that information, or your guides and angels, and when you get that information, you'll recognize it's something you want, and you'll look at it differently. Your perception will change. And with that, there'll be no more resistance. Okay. And when there's no more resistance, the same thing can happen, but you'll embrace it, meaning that you'll be grateful for it. Okay. It's like if you have a lot of fear come up, well, your lesson is to heal fear, to become fearless, which means you need to learn how to let it go and ask for more courage and ask for faith and trust. And as that takes place, your fear dissolves. And as that takes place, you become clear. Okay. And what you recognize is as your fear dissolves, your mind naturally quiets down. Your body naturally feels better. Right. And that's when you go to like, peace be still, know I in the midst of you is God. Because that's the truth for every one of us. But we have to still our minds. How do we do that? Surrender. Right. One of the prayers I say on a regular basis is to the divine, please quiet my mind so I can hear the thoughts of the divine. Please quiet my mind except for the thoughts of God. Okay. And that gets rid of a lot of static. But you have to ask. Okay. So types of resistance or ways we resist, we procrastinate. Why? Because we don't want to face what we have to face. Okay, that's resistance. Blaming someone else for how we feel, okay, it puts them as our authority and it causes suffering. Denial, blame, and rejection. Trying to change others so that we can be at peace. Again, if you just recognize what the other person's bringing up in you and heal that, that will take care of the other person. If they're not right for you, they'll leave. And if they are right for you, they'll transform. I once worked with a lady who had like a ton of fear of her husband, and she'd been afraid of him her whole life. And she goes, I want to let go of this fear. So I worked with her. And we did a lot of clearing work. You know, you clear the energy, you clear the thoughts. And one day she says, this is the first time I've sat down with my husband where I wasn't afraid of him. He was a big bully. And she says, thank you. What had happened in our session before that was the Divine Mother came in and said, ask her if I can take all of her fear out of her while she sleeps. And she said yes, and it happened that week. Okay. It wasn't something I did. It wasn't something she did. It was something the light did. Okay. And so the next session, she said, you'll never guess what happened. I woke up one night and all my fear was leaving me. I could see it leaving and I could feel it leaving. And the next morning I woke up and I had coffee with my husband, and it was the first time in years I wasn't afraid of him. And she goes, I'm not afraid of anything anymore. I don't know why. Okay. Isn't that cool that we can shed things and let them go? Right. But she didn't do it with her mind. She did it when her mind was quiet, when she was asleep. She just woke up to it. Okay. So, what if we could start offering our challenges and our suffering to that light, to our guides and angels, and ask them to heal it and transform it? What you notice is your thoughts start to change, your feelings start to change, your wisdom and guidance comes to life. But you got to ask. Okay. And, you know, And when things come up that are uncomfortable, try to learn to be comfortable with them, make friends with them, because it's energy. And right now on the planet, there's a lot of purging of energy coming out of people, but it's for healing. It's not a punishment. It's so it can come up and out. I remember one time I had all of this pressure stomach, in my stomach chakra, and I could feel it. It was like really tight. And I asked my guides, I said, "What is this?" And I didn't get an answer. It just felt tight. And then later that day, and I just asked, "Can you please help this come out of me?" Right? And later that day, someone triggered me to where I was like extremely afraid. And I was like, "Oh my God, where's all this fear coming from?" And I heard, "Didn't you want this to come out of you?" I was like, "Yeah." And they said, "It is. Just be still a moment." And I just breathed in light, breathed out fear, breathed in light, breathed out fear, breathed in light, breathed out fear. And I let it come up, I let it come out. And it came out, it was gone. Okay. What if we could do this with anger? What if we could do this with frustration, hate, right? It's not our essence. Our essence is love. Anything that doesn't match love can be healed because it's not us. Okay. So let's do a meditation to learn how to make this connection stronger and learn that we can let go of anything that we want to let go of. And then just be still and allow healing to take place for us. Okay. Again, what blocks our healing? Not believing we're good enough, not believing we're worthy, right? Sarah Mara is a really profound spiritual teacher and healer. And she's extremely profound at prayer. And she says, if you're praying and your prayers aren't answered, check with yourself and see if you think you're deserving of it, or if you think that you're worthy of it, or make sure you're not feeling guilty about something. God forgives you in an instant. It's the ego that doesn't. It's human judgment that doesn't. It's your own judgment about yourself that doesn't. Okay. So we want to let go of all that stuff and only take from our past mistakes what we learned, not beating ourselves up over them. Okay. Everyone on this call has a good heart. Okay. We make mistakes. So what? Let them go. Okay. So if you're ready, we're just going to connect to the divine light. And what I want you to do once we're connected is just, well, we'll do it in the meditation. All right. We ready? Okay. So close your eyes and take a deep breath. And release it. Take another deep breath and release it. And then just pay attention to your breathing. Paying attention to your breathing brings you back into the present moment. And bringing yourself back to the present moment ignites your connection with the divine within you, because you're not in your mind. You're experiencing the present moment. So just take a few breaths. And knowing that the light is within you, it's not somewhere else. I want you just to ask the light to activate itself in you. Ask the divine to connect with you and awaken its light within you. And just go to your heart and feel that light. And once you feel it, just acknowledge it. Say thank you. If the light's all knowing, it knows everything. You don't really have to talk to it and try to micromanage it. Just say thank you and rest in it. You might feel a sense of expansion or a sense of love or peace. Just be present with it and let it expand itself within you. Now call your guides and angels in. Even if you've never met them before, call them in. And let them be with you. Once you've made a connection with the divine light and you open yourself to it, for this meditation, what I want you to do is recognize this divine light is loving and kind, and it doesn't want you to suffer. It wants you to be at peace. It wants you to be healthy. It wants you to know the truth. It wants you to shed perceptions that you hold that cause suffering. So I want you to ask this divine light to bring to your awareness something about you that needs to be healed, something that you're doing that's causing you suffering, something that you're thinking or that you've held on to that's caused you suffering. And just let the light pick out what that is and bring it to your awareness. Give it permission. And know by allowing that to come up, it's not a punishment. It's coming out. And whatever it is, if it seems genuine, like something that is true or was true about you, just acknowledge it. And recognize that by yourself, you can't heal it. You can't make up for it if you made a mistake. Just recognize that this is something that needs to be healed within you. And ask this light, this love, this consciousness of love to take this from you and start to heal and transform it. And start to heal and transform the part of you that was misperceiving or misbehaving, so that that no longer exists in you. Just be sincere and ask that whatever it is that's causing you suffering, or that's limiting your experience in life or blocking you from your connection to your highest self, give this light permission to heal it, to correct it. And then let the light come in and let the light encompass it. And, and basically activate itself within the consciousness of the suffering. And then let go of it. How do you let go of it? You just let go of it. You just say, I choose to let this go, and let the light take it from me, and let the light heal it in me completely. And then just allow. Let go and just allow. Isn't this peaceful? To let a higher consciousness heal your problems and be in charge. Now I want you to give this light, this divine light, permission to heal any areas of your life where you're suffering unnecessarily. To start to heal any thoughts or perceptions that you hold that are causing you suffering or pain in your life. If this part of you is all knowing, it knows exactly where you're misperceiving and causing suffering for yourself. And it's not necessary to judge yourself. It's more important just to let it go. And ask this consciousness to heal and correct it, to give you divine inspiration, to see things in a new light, to face your problems with new resources. You might notice how just being in the present moment, and trusting in this light, brings a sense of peace, brings a sense of expansion, brings a sense of healing. And the more you can develop this connection and trust in it, the easier life's going to become. So let's give this light permission to continue to heal and correct any perceptions that are causing suffering in your life. To replace any thoughts that are creating suffering in your life with thoughts of truth. And then start associating this state of consciousness with being in your heart. When you connect to your heart and you're present, the divine light automatically comes in. And then you just offer what you want help with to it and be still and allow. Be patient and allow it to resolve itself in God's timing. When you feel complete, thank your guides and angels and thank the divine within you for healing you, for helping you. And ask it to continue to heal you and help you, to give you more awareness, more guidance. and bring you the help that you need in your life and the resources that you need in your life. When you feel complete, just take one breath, breathe in, release your breath, and open your eyes. Oh, wait. Sorry, Holly. I did that wrong. All right. There you go. All right.